Welcome everybody, this is episode 18 of The Hype. This is the first time I've ever tried to do two people at the same time. I'm glad that came out the way that it did. Take that out of contest. Woo! Anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in. If you don't know who I am, I'm Dustin Red. I'm a commentator, analyst in North America. This is, like I said, my 18th episode. And what we're going to do with this episode is we're going to catch up with Cloud9, basically. I've pretty much interviewed everyone on Cloud9 at least once now. Or former members of Cloud9 even. So we're going to have Stunna, though, appearing for the first time, actually their manager. So we're going to get his input on some things. And then, of course, we'll have Shroud, who you guys all know from his stream, as well as his play with Cloud9 and other teams, to just get his take. And then basically what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at just some recent items of news in CSGO. And not only that, but really kind of focus down on some of these recent North American events that we've had, and then, you know, what's coming up in the future. And that's kind of what we're going with here. Now, everyone already knows Shroud for the most part, so I don't think he really needs much of an introduction, but I do want to maybe learn a little bit about you, Stunna, because some people may or may not really know who you are or what you do. But Stunna, do you just want to kind of briefly introduce yourself a little bit to the people out there?
Yeah, sure. Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Trace Saranthus. Obviously go by Stunna in game. I've been around Counter-Strike for quite some time now. I'm a combat veteran, Operation Enduring Freedom, 11-12. And I've been working with these guys for, I think we're coming on about 2 years now, maybe a year and a half, something like that. Or at least with the core group there, Cloud9. Then we picked up the straggler Shroudy somewhere along the way, so.
So, I mean, how did you even get into esports, Stunna, to any degree?
Basically, when I was probably 15 or 16, I got in this thing called Complexity Cast, which is like this shoutcasting. We do commentating and like live interviews, kind of like this, except for this was pre-Twitch. So this was all spoken and all verbal and whatnot. So you used to use like Winamp and you tune in, you could listen. So I ran that with Complexity for a long time, and then I ended up going off to college and did the Army thing. And when I got out, I was like, you know what? I kind of wanted to pick up where I left off. So apparently, this was right around the time CS:GO came out, and I guess timing just happened to be perfect.
Right. So you've been the manager of this C9 team ever since the Complexity days, you know, before Shroud, and you just kind of transitioned with them when they got picked up by Cloud9. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about, like, kind of your role. Like, everyone knows you're the manager, but what does that actually entail? Because I know different managers have different roles on different squads depending. So maybe you can tell us a bit about what you do for the team.
All right. So I guess to start things off, I actually work pretty close-knit with all of the teams of Cloud9. But being that my main focus and my real focus is on the Counter-Strike guys, making sure they have what they need as far as travel. If they have any like pay-related questions, like right now, Shroud's going through some things, and you know, I just try to facilitate as best as possible.
So do you do any type of coaching? Because we know that Liquid just got a coach with Ward, and obviously there's several coaches throughout Europe for teams. Do you have any role in all in like in-game stuff, or is it mostly just out-of-game business stuff?
If you ask Shroud that, he'll troll you and tell you yes, but the answer is no, actually.
He's a coach as well.
No, I caught a little flack. Apparently, I was the reason we lost DreamHack. I didn't know that. That was nuts. But no, I don't coach. We're not opposed to the idea of having one, though.
Right. So about that, then, Shroud. I guess I'll ask you a question since you know we've kind of ignored you for the first little bit. What do you think about coaching? Would you like to see a coach? Do you think it'd be helpful? What are your thoughts there?
I mean, I don't know if it would lead to good results. It might, but I think it'd be kind of cool for them to try. Yeah, for sure. I would be all for it. Couple, I don't know, months down the road. Who knows when? But I think it'd be something we could look into.
I mean, it's a process of like implementing them correctly. I think is the most important thing to be done there.
Okay. So introductions out of the way, and just that brief point about Stunna's role as a manager and not as a coach, and the idea of maybe having a coach down the line. Maybe we'll get to that later. But the first thing I want to talk about, which is the big thing in the news, is match fixing, of course. And it started out in North America. I'm not going to go into the details about it. You can read about this anywhere, HLTV, The Daily Dot, you know, the Valve's official blog about it, whatever you want. You know who got banned and why they got banned, and it's all said and done. But the question I would ask you folks is, Do you think the punishment was fair? Do you think Valve has a consistent punishment? We're kind of seeing inconsistency. What do you think about it?
I mean, I don't think it really matters whether or not they get permabanned or if they get a year banned, if they get 2-year bans, because at the end of the day, if they get unbanned after a year or two and they want to make it back to professional gaming, how are they going to do that? No sponsor is going to want to pick up a team that threw a bunch of games, you know? So, I mean, I don't think it matters at all. If one team's banned for a year, one team's banned permanently, I think they should just all be perma-banned. If that's kind of bad to say, but even if they make it back, it's not going to work out for them, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to agree that the permaban thing seems like the right way to go. I mean, I totally understand where Valve's trying to go with this. They want to set a precedence going forward that this type of behavior is not okay. And I think that's one surefire way to do it, is just completely eliminate those people from the community itself. And what I have noticed is, though, you have crowd favorites that get the community support to, oh, let's change it to a 1 year, you know. It can't work like that. It really can't.
What about, because there's like various levels of involvement, so you obviously have your people who may have been the ones who actually organized it and were the ones setting it up, and then you have your people who are either willing or unwilling participants based on whatever pressures you want to throw out there. Do you think that the punishment should be varied on severity of the crime, like the severity of how much money is extorted, or the severity of involvement, or do you think it's just like one universal, this is how it's going to be for all cases of this?
I mean, I truly believe there needs to be a standard across the board, and that's not even just in the match fixing thing. Like, there needs to be standards and regulations set across all of Counter-Strike for all tournament organizers, et cetera, et cetera. So I do believe it's important that they have some sort of guidelines to go off of. What do you think, Mike?
I mean, yeah, I just agree with what you said. Sorry, I don't have any other input besides that. Kind of zoned out for a second there, actually. Not gonna lie.
It's okay,
I'm not gonna lie.
It happens.
I was reading chat. My bad.
Oh, it's all good, man. But so here's the thing, though. So obviously, pros being banned from majors is huge because there's so much money that can come from that if you do actually qualify with sticker money. Obviously, the prize money is huge. Obviously, the prestige is huge to be a part of that. So that in itself, being banned from majors, probably is incentive enough if you're a professional player or a team that has an actual chance of making it to a Valve major. But what about these other teams, like amateur teams or teams that have probably no way they're ever going to make it to a major? I mean, what kind of punishment can we do then to try to make it to where you actually wouldn't want to throw? Like, what incentive can we get people not to, especially at the amateur level, do you think?
Well, I mean, at that point, it's kind of like, what games are actually going on CS:GO Lounge? Is it every game? You know, like at the amateur standpoint, are you talking about like premier players? What are we? Well,
think about this. So I'm going to use an example, and this is not a match that was thrown. Okay, this is just me using an example of a match I saw on Go Lounge. So it was an ESEAP match, if I'm not mistaken, between Affinity, which was like Davy's team. You know, Davy from Hell's Gamers. That was like ClutchCon.
Yeah, we just played them last night.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was them. And it was Canadian All-Stars, just like another NA Premier team. I'm not even sure really who they are, to be honest. I know some of their players, but I don't really know how good they actually are. So those two, that was a game that was on Go Lounge. It was crazy odds in favor of Affinity, who lost the game. So if you bet on Canadian All-Stars, it was like a 30% underdog or something like that. So it was like a really big win for people. Now, I'm not saying this match was thrown. It's not my point. But my point is in a situation like this where you have two teams on Go Lounge on a bet where there is a potential to make a lot of money, what incentive do you have to not throw in that sense? Because there's like, if Valve, say they did get caught, let's just say it did happen. Valve could come out and say, okay, we don't want to have anything to do with these guys, but what does it matter? They're not going to a major anyway. They're amateur teams. They probably aren't going to be ever good enough to be there. So at that point, what kind of punishment can you deal that'll be effective?
Well, I think that's when the ESCA and stuff comes in, right? Because then ESCA and CEVO and all that, they're going to get rid of them ASAP. And then they just can't play CS at all, really.
So it's on the league, you think, Shroud?
Well,
yeah.
And it's not even, I agree there. The leagues need to come into play there too, but it's not just the league's responsibility. Like, this is our community. Like, this is our community. All of you in chat right now, everybody, this is our community, and it is what we make of it. So I mean, it's also important for us to say, hey, that's not okay at all. Demand results, you know.
So I guess the point is there a real solution? I mean, I know you're talking about having set guidelines, set punishments, some clarity, because right now we have inconsistency. Valve's ban against North Americans was kind of ambiguous. We don't want to have any participation with these guys. They don't say how long or what degree of participation they mean. Whereas with the Epsilon people, apparently it was these guys are just straight up banned for a year. So what do you think we got to do here at this point to have a set standard? And then I'm going to walk away from this topic. Mike, anything? Any organized punishment you'd like to see for people who throw?
I mean, like the league bans, like that's really it.
What about
You
like
get a league-
vacking your account, like if you cheated?
No,
No?
that's too far.
Too far?
I don't think you should vac.
Well, maybe not a vac, but maybe obviously it wouldn't be a vac.
A different type of ban that they might come out with on Steam, sure.
Like
It could
marking
work
you
with
as a match fixer or something, that way at least people can see it?
something like that, because they have it in other games like Dota, right? I'm sure there's match fixing in that game. Definitely. I don't know anything about it, but I'm sure there's got to be some. But they could come out with a different system.
I get what you're saying. That's a good idea. Like at least mark them or something like that so people know, but maybe not actually stop them from playing. So the last question I want to relate to match fixing then is this. It's not match fixing itself, but for NXCSGO, so obviously we lost a lot of top players, right? And now there almost seems to be this vacuum at the top of NA that people are trying to fill to kind of be the next best team, like a team that can actually compete internationally. How much talent do you think we truly lost in all this? Is the NACS scene really crippled, or do you think we still have enough talent to where it doesn't matter that we lost all these people?
I mean, it does cripple it a little bit, but we also get to see some new stars, which is kind of cool. You get to see some new players rise up. But it does suck for some of the younger players, like, for example, Brax. Brax was really young, really talented, and it sucks for him, but there's not much you can do. But yeah, you get to see all those other teams coming up and all those other players. So, I don't know. I'm 50-50 on that.
Yeah, and two, with these newer players, these younger players, not Brax, but like the ones that have to come in and fill this void, like they kind of find themselves being slingshot into top level Counter-Strike, and they have to learn fast, like they have to adapt fast, or they might see a quick exit.
So my question will be this then. So in the past, NA has at least always had kind of one team who was ranked in the top 8 or something like that by most people's standards, HLTV rankings, placement at majors, getting out of group play to quarterfinals, whatever. Obviously, recently we haven't really had that happen. Of course, we've only had one major, but that was even before this all happened. But regardless, we've seen you guys kind of go up against some European teams at Aspen and ClutchCon. Is it going to take us some time before we'll actually get past this and have enough talent to compete overseas, or what?
I think so, yeah. It kind of slowed us down a little bit, and we got to bring it back up, definitely. It shouldn't take as long as it did, though, like the first time we did it, if that makes sense. Because it took a really long time for NACS to kind of get involved and get bigger there. So it shouldn't take as long, but we got to kind of do it all over again, which is a little crappy.
What about you, Stunna? What do you think here?
I mean, it's it is a really crappy situation. But these guys that were ousted were veterans within the community. They'd been doing this. There are things that they've learned that's going to take a while for the newer guys to pick up. So if they can get a hang of it, then they'll be able to hang.
Right. I guess like your team is one of the least affected. I mean, you had a roster change, but it was pretty much unrelated for the most part to this particular situation. So it seems as if your team is in the best position to be able to do something in the near future as compared to other teams that are so new. What other teams should we be looking out for, maybe, that you think could help fill this void that we're talking about?
CLG, I would say. Liquid. CLG and Liquid are the two big ones. And Mythic actually kind of surprised me after playing them at LAN.
What about Elevate?
I was going to bring that up too. Elevate, it maybe. I'm not really sure. They surprised us too, but
And they're looking stronger.
I'm not. Yeah, it's hard to say with them. I think they're kind of a little back and forth.
Okay, well, we'll
But-
get to some of these NA teams a little bit later when we talk about the actual events and talk about how things went. So the first event I want to start with is Aspen, and I'm going to start with your team because you're here, and we'll talk about some of the other NA teams and their performances there as well. But at Aspen, you come into it after having like a tough ESCA land, getting eliminated by what is now Liquid, or at least most of the players from that team. And then also, obviously, some of the group play exits in Europe. First off, I want to ask, because I talked to Shazam about this, but he wasn't on the team whenever all this happened, so he was kind of giving like an outside perspective on what went wrong. Whereas Shroud, you're on the team, you have more of an inside perspective. What do you think went wrong for you guys at these events in Europe, like Face It, like ESWC, like DreamHack Winter? I mean, what do you think was the reason why you guys weren't, hitting that top 8 level anymore?
I have no idea. I'm thinking, like, I honestly not really sure. I'm thinking it's maybe because maybe there was some inner team drama. Maybe Spencer was thinking about leaving earlier. Maybe something like that was happening, and I just didn't know about it. I personally had no idea. I didn't really know what's wrong, what was going on. So maybe there was something like that going on that I just didn't know about. Besides that, I don't know. We got tons of practice in, and it wasn't working out. So I'm not really sure. It's hard to say.
Stunna,
Yeah, I mean-
as an observer from the back end, did you kind of notice something that maybe was going wrong with the team, or?
Well, I mean, it's no secret. No one's ever happy about not being successful or spending or dedicating that amount of time and whatnot towards that goal, and then ultimately just. I mean, I think you've seen a DreamHack. It was pretty detrimental. It didn't feel good at all, the way the group stages went for us. But at the same time, I mean, what was going on back then are all bygones. I mean, it's not really anything that should be added now or could be added now. It's like a bunch of what ifs or what was.
Right, and I think that maybe it's not as bad as people think. I mean, you went 4-1 at ESWC in group play.
Oh, that's a heartbreaker too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You only lost one game, right, to LDLC on Inferno, and then every other game you won at ESWC. So that was kind of tough to get caught on a tiebreaker like that. And then I guess that DreamHack Hellraisers were just amazing in group play, that particular event. And then you had fnatic as your elimination team. So it wasn't as if you had an easy route or anything. It was tough. But go ahead,
Like
Stunna.
Hellraisers came out with, and I think Mike can touch on this a little bit. They came out with this sort of like different tactic of gameplay with using their coach and whatnot. And I don't think it proved to be very effective there, but since then I think they've undergone some roster changes. So
Yeah, Blade's back playing with Dat. They don't even have him anymore as a coach. And so, I mean, and then it didn't work out for him in bracket play either. They wound up getting eliminated in the first round of bracket play. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say. But going into Aspen, your first match was against Kabum, the Brazilian team, and it was on Mirage. Mike, do you want to talk us through this game a bit and what you think maybe went wrong or what your thoughts are on Kabum as a team, since before this no one really knew what to expect from them?
I mean, yeah, we went into facing Kabum not really knowing what maps they like. We didn't really know anything about them. So we fell into their best map without knowing. We had no idea. I don't even know if there's any matches we could have looked at HL TV. But anyway, we had no idea. So we went in there, and Mirage isn't our best map. We're not that great at Mirage. But we figured who's Kabum? Right? We got this. And then we played them, and they were incredible. I think they're the best Mirage team out of anybody right now. They're beating Fnatic. They beat everybody. So we didn't stand a chance, at all. Not to mention, we started off kind of casually playing them. We were thinking, who's Kabum, blah, blah, blah. And we went in there, one pistol, okay, cool. Easy. I think we won pistol, right? I'm pretty sure. And we went in, we're oh, this is going to be easy. And then it just we just kept losing rounds, and we're okay, we're going to win the next round. We lost another round. It's okay, it's fine. We're going to win the next round. And it just kept happening and happening and happening, and then it just snowballed, and then we, lost. We didn't expect that at all.
So, what maps did you avoid to where it fell into Mirage? Because you said it's a map that you guys aren't really good on, so even if you didn't know that was Kabum's best map, you knew it was a map that you weren't necessarily the most comfortable on. So, I mean, what maps were you why did it come down to Mirage? I guess even if you didn't know them.
I'm trying to remember the vetoes.
Was it mostly just getting rid of customs like
yeah,
cobblestone and overpass
yeah,
and things like that?
yeah, it was. And then it came down to like, do we play Mirage or do we play Dust 2 or do we play Inferno? Those were like the 3 maps kind of came down to. So we're like, all right, let's ban Dust 2. And then they picked Mirage.
Yeah, I think we kind of had the expectation of maybe some sort of like pug style of play on their end, but obviously,
yeah, they were
that's why you
really well coordinated.
They were pretty well coordinated and calculated in what they wanted to do.
So basically, you avoided D2, which you thought could have been kind of like an underdoggers map. I got what you're saying.
We figured D2 would be kind of like Puggy, so maybe they would stay, like they would do good. Maybe they couldn't just get us on a map, and well, we should have played them on D2.
So, in hindsight, now obviously it doesn't matter. But I mean, how good is Kabum on Mirage? I mean, like you said, they beat Fnatic, they beat you guys. They look so sharp on it. Like I said, they're so calculated. I mean, what do you think Kabum does on Mirage that sets them apart from other good teams on Mirage, like a Fnatic, like some of these other teams? From watching them play, Mike, or playing against them.
I haven't really gotten a chance to actually watch the demos or watch the demos against Fnatic. I didn't watch the Fnatic game. All I saw was the results. Right. So I didn't really get a chance to actually observe and see what actually happened.
But what did it feel like when you were playing against them, maybe? Like, what did you see while you were playing against them that you're like, whoa, this is crazy? I
mean, they just took everything together. Everything was perfectly. They never missed a trade. They were always there for the trade, and they threw really good fakes. Everything that they were doing, they were just on point with each other. Their communication was good. Their teamwork was good. You could just tell by the way they move around the map. I don't know. It was something else, though.
Right. Well, we'll talk about this more maybe against their Fnatic game. Trace, did you notice anything from watching it from behind the players where you were just like, whoa, like Kabum's really doing something special here? Or there's something different about this team? Was there anything that you saw, from Kabum that you were like, whoa, like this is kind of nuts?
Well, whoa is kind of nuts is I think we did win that.
You did win pistol.
Yeah, we did. We did win that pistol, so we were kind of like, okay, this will be a nice start. It'll go more fluid from here. But obviously, that's not what happened. So, I mean, they came out gunning. They're here to play. Let's put it that way. They're ready to play.
Yeah, like I said, we'll talk more about their Mirage game when we come to Fnatic, because that's when we really saw it, I think, really be good. But then you guys went to go play NiP next in group play, so you've obviously already got shot because Kabum was the map that you thought for sure you'd win to get advanced out the group, and now you got NiP and what is now TSM left, so that's like the two tougher teams in the group. But you beat NiP on Nuke pretty handedly, actually. Mike, what do you think about this game? How did this go?
I mean, honestly, Nuke pretty much went exactly like it did in I think Cologne. It was the same exact score. We feel pretty confident against NiP as a team and on Nuke. So we went into that match pretty confident, honestly. I think did we start CT side? I don't really remember.
You did.
We did? Yeah. So starting CT side, obviously, like it's not exactly how this went, but yeah. Anyone who starts CT side Nuke is pretty confident, I think.
Right, okay, so we got it. So then Dignitas, though, or what is now TSM, you guys play them on D2. This is a decider. You have to win this game to get through the groups. You guys got crushed. I think it was 16-2 or 16-2. Like D2 is usually a pretty strong map for you. I know it's a map that you've beat some really good teams on in the past. Your win rate on the map is like I said, it's probably one of your best maps besides Nuke. What went wrong here in this game against TSM on D2, one of your strongest maps?
They took advantage. I think it was a mid and long. I think that's what they kept hitting mid and they kept hitting long. We started CT side, and they just outshot us. They outshot us everywhere. We almost didn't stand a chance. Shazam, that was Shazam's first time playing, I think, Dignitas or any really aggressive kind of European team. And then after we played Fnatic at this lane, but we'll talk about that later. And Shazam, I guess I think if I remember correctly, he said he wasn't really ready for what happened, and they just outgunned us completely. They ran out mid, they took advantage of it, and then they ran out long, and then they ran off cat, and they just kept running off these sites and just out aiming us like it was nothing, and just didn't stand a chance. I don't know.
I remember watching this game, and I remember in the past there used to be talk about how you guys on this particular map, D2 knows a good map for you, that you would sometimes struggle against mid B attacks. And I know that, especially, this is really, prevalent against Titan at group play. I believe that Cologne, once again, even though y'all won in overtime, it was still, like, really tough, especially in that first half in regulation. And this kind of came up again in this game, too. It seemed like TSM was kind of crushing that mid to B pretty regularly. Is this something that you still notice as an issue on your Dust 2 that y'all are working on, or what?
Yeah, I mean, we started changing up our Dust 2 a little bit here. During that Dig game, I believe I played mid, and I got handled. But we kind of,
modest shroud.
we kind of
handled.
We kind of changed up our D2 CT side a little bit now. So we're still working on some things. Hopefully, it's gonna work out for the best. I'm not sure.
Okay, so that pretty much ended your Aspen trip as far as the tournament went because of you guys getting eliminated there by TSM in the end. But there's some other stories I want to talk about from this event and kind of get your take on it because, I mean, these are your colleagues or what have you. So obviously the biggest shocker from the event, besides you guys getting beat by Kabum on Mirage, was probably CLG beating what is now Envious, but LDLC on Dust 2 in that 16-14 game. Have you seen this game, or were you aware of it was going on, Mike, or what?
The CLG versus LDLC
On
right?
Dust 2, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get to see that game, or?
I didn't watch it all. I watched like from the halfway point. I came and started watching it. And if I remember correctly, Peter was just
Nuts.
dominating people, right? Yeah.
That's carry, right?
And that's really, really important on Dust 2. It's just like if we have Shazam on Dust 2 and he's just getting a pick through mid door every single round. I mean, same result's going to happen. It's when your Opper's on Dust 2, it's a pretty convincing win. I don't remember the score, though.
16-14.
16-14. Okay, well, that's not pretty convincing, but
right.
Yeah.
Still a big statement for a team like that who
it
hadn't really landed much before this to get. I mean, most people thought that at the time LDLC was the best D2 team, and they were like second best team in the world coming into the event. So this was kind of a big statement to open the tournament with. Like you said, Peter went nuts. I think he had over 30 kills on the game. Below that, everyone else had a pretty tight frag distribution, like all in the high teens or something like that. So, and from what Peter said in an interview, he said that Finesse just called a good game. Like he knew, especially on their T side, exactly where like Happy would play in CT spawn, or they kind of had a good good read. They kind of counter-stratted LDLC, so that may have been part of it as well. But. Here's the thing, though, is after this happens, they just get bombed out the tournament, especially by Liquid on Cash. Did you see this or have any thoughts on this game?
That was kind of depressing to watch. I think it was like it was a blowout, right?
Yeah, it was 16-3 or 16-2 or something like that.
Yeah,
it was bad.
On Cash.
It was definitely bad.
I don't know what happened with CLG because they're pretty okay on Cash. I mean, they shouldn't have gotten 16-3 by Liquid. I have no idea what happened.
It's like statistically their second best map because D2 is their best. So yeah, this was kind of crazy to see them lose this bad on Cash. I guess my question is what do you think happened between being able to upset what is now Envious and then, I mean, because they needed to win this Liquid game to advance. If they win this game, they advance. They already beat one of the two tough teams in their group. Now they had to go up against Fnatic on Mirage and try to advance that way. What do you think the drop-off was?
I honestly have no idea. I didn't talk to the team, so I don't know what they thought about it is. I don't know if it was nerves, if they were just missing their shots. Maybe Liquid was just on point. I'm not really sure what happened. It could have been a lot of things. Like Liquid could have just been so on point that they didn't stand a chance. I mean, that happens sometimes, where you're just getting outgunned everywhere, and you just don't stand a chance. So maybe that's something that happened.
Even though you didn't watch the game, that's probably a very good summary of what happened, actually. Because I just remember Liquid starting on CT side, and just, Adren was opping them. Everyone was defending really well on CT, and they were just getting outshot, like you said. So that's actually a really good summary. Trace, did you see this? Any thoughts on CLG's performance here at Aspen?
Yeah, they came out gunning. They came out real strong. And I don't think... Well, I mean, first game of the tournament, I don't think anybody really expected that. So it was kind of another one of those Kabum situations where it was just kind of really unexpected. But I think, we're going to talk about ClutchCon coming up, correct?
We are going to get to that here in just a second.
Okay.
There's two more questions about Aspen before we go to ClutchCon. Of course, Liquid was the other North American team there. They were last minute. While they crushed CLG, they got beat by Fnatic and LDLC. I guess that's not too surprising, right? I mean, did y'all expect anything different out of Liquid at this event?
No, I mean, yeah, that was pretty expected, definitely.
So what was not expected probably was the fact that Fnatic goes out at 4th place, getting beat in the semis by NiP, and then getting beat in the 3rd place decider by what is now TSM. Did you see any of this, guys? I mean, what do you think happened to Fnatic?
I unfortunately didn't get a chance
Yeah.
to. I didn't get a chance to catch it. I don't know. I think we were probably busy with something, but I feel like.
Are you surprised that that's the result that happened? Even though you didn't see the games, were you surprised to see Fnatic coming in as a favorite and falling out at 4th?
I mean, I am, but I'm also not, because you can't win them all. You can't. There's some events that you're just gonna go.
You can win them all. Don't lie, Shroudy.
You just go to an event and just someone's not playing good. That one person could mean a lot. They're just not on. Maybe something's happening. I don't know.
I mean,
some sort of drama, and you just can't perform because one person isn't doing it, or the whole team maybe, or maybe they just, I don't know. It could be a lot of things, really. I don't think that should downgrade them from going from like the best team in the world to 2nd or 3rd. I still consider them the best team in the world, personally.
So you still think Fnatic's the best team in the world even after
Yes.
Envious winning DreamHack winner and winning Aspen back to back like
that? That's what I think.
Okay. Stunna, what's your
That's
take?
just
Do
my
you think
opinion,
Envious has dethroned Fnatic with their back-to-back first places at big events, or is it still Fnatic?
No, I mean, let's put this in perspective, okay? I think you've got 3 major international powerhouses, maybe 4 if you count VP, but between, the former LDLC, Fnatic, NiP is working their way back to the top with Michael. They're doing phenomenal work. And then, I mean, I really think it's a toss-up right now. But Fnatic is definitely a strong presence, and furthermore, they did hurt our feelings at ClutchCon. So,
honestly, the only map that Fnatic seems to have slipped on a bit was Mirage. This used to be their 2nd best map, with Inferno obviously their best. And Kabum beat them at ClutchCon on it, which we'll talk about that in a second. But they also got eliminated off this map. So this is the map that NiP beat him on in the 3rd map of the series to push him to the 3rd place decider. And that's the 2nd map that TSM beat them on to 2-0 them. So it almost seemed like something's up with their Mirage, like it's not as powerful as it used to be, or they're getting figured out. That's the one map that they've lost several times in the last 2 tournaments that you could point to. Outside of that, though, Stunna, you just mentioned you think NiP's on their way back. We weren't really sure about this because DreamHack Winter 14, yeah, they did take 2nd place, but it wasn't as if they did it convincingly. They almost got eliminated in the quarterfinals, or maybe it was the semifinals against Virtus Pro. So that it wasn't as if they had an easy route. They looked a little bit shaky a couple of times, but NiP's so resilient, it seems that they're able to get past it. And then they just won the Asus event in the finals against Titan. So is NiP back, Mike? Do you think watching these events? I mean, what does NiP look like to you with Michael?
The Asus ROG event was during ClutchCon, so I came back home and I was like, oh, there was an event when we were at ClutchCon. I didn't even know. I had no idea. I didn't even know that event was going on, so I didn't get a chance to see it. I don't know who was even in it, but I think if Fnatic might have been there, if NiP would have won. But NiP is definitely top 3 or top 4, but like I said, I still have Fnatic over them.
Okay.
Well, I think the important thing to realize here is that we're not in a one-sided environment anymore where NiP is just running over every team's 87-0 or whatever they went out as. Like, this is becoming a very competitive playing field. 2014, we saw that. 2015, we're for sure going to see that in bigger links.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to definitely say that NiP is back as a contender. They may not be best team in the world. I mean, in fact, they don't have any wins to merit them being the best in the world. But I think, Stunna, you placed them probably pretty right. I think they are kind of a top 3, definitely top 4 team right now, based on DreamHack Winter 14 results, how they did at Asus. They seem to be back. And Mike Lilly had a huge event at Asus. I mean, he was their best player at that event. Yeah, I mean, I think NiP is definitely on their rise back. But So I'll ask you this then, Mike. If you think Fnatic is still first in the world, then where is Envious at, the former LDLC?
Second in my little graph I have in my head.
Your little graph
Second,
you got in
then
your head?
yeah, and then probably Nip would be third, and well, so forth. Virtus Pro, blah blah blah.
Are you thinking the same thing there, Trace? Or
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that. VP, or there's some fighters too.
Yeah,
I would definitely never write them off.
right? I think I'd have to put Envious first right now and Fnatic second, just based on their 2 first place events. I mean, they're looking really good, and especially when we're watching the finals when they were playing against Nip. You had like Vintage Shocks was back, it seemed. I mean, he was just nuts, happy MVP of the event, back to back. Basically, I thought he was the MVP of DreamHack winner too. I mean, he just, as an in-game leader, he just looks so on point as a fragger as well. And of course, you got Kyoshima, who is definitely really good. So yeah, I think Envious is probably maybe first. I would say they're first, definite, but I would say Fnatic is probably still second, and yeah, I think Nick third is probably pretty fair to say. But I think Trace, you're right. It's really close right now. I mean, we saw TSM only play one event so far of the year, which was at Aspen, and they took third, so they're kind of back in their semifinal, condition.
And to go a little more on that, like let's take them getting picked up by TSM. That could be a total game changer for them. They could really break out from that. Just that new org feel, that new team.
that new
feel.
that new team smell right
That
there.
new team smell.
I mean, yeah, that's another question. I didn't get to ask, about this earlier, but what do you think about these North American sponsors coming in? Because obviously y'all were kind of the first to really get a nice big org. I mean, Albi Powers did a lot for that team, don't get me wrong, but to get a big name brand like Cloud9, y'all were, besides maybe Complexity was big when they first announced CSGO way back in the day, but this is like a whole new level of announcement to have someone like Cloud9 step in. And now we're seeing CLG step in to a North American team. We have Liquid stepping in to a North American team. I mean, obviously it's all positive, right? But I mean, how do you think this is going to go?
Truth be told, it can't go really bad. But I mean, if we could continue to kill the community one incident at a time, that's not going to help by any means. I mean, you have big teams willing to come over here and have a piece of Counter-Strike be a part of them. How are we helping with things such as match fixing or cheating scandals, this and that? We're only killing ourselves at that point. So we need to get that under control. Because I mean, let's be fair. I don't know how much this game can hold. Or I mean, I don't know how much of abuse it could take before people are just like, nope, I'm out. I've had enough.
I'm sure there's already some people that are doing that. Definitely.
Oh yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at this point.
I hear you. I can see what you're saying. So let's move on to ClutchCon then,
Picking
right?
up what I'm laying down there, Brett?
I am. So let's move on to ClutchCon. This is the last event you folks played in. This is kind of now we'll talk about kind of our NA rankings. We'll maybe go more in depth with some of these NA teams. So at ClutchCon, I mean, you pretty much coasted through groups. There's really not much to say outside of that. I mean, it seemed like you had an easy time. I think you beat SK. No, that was who'd y'all play in groups again? I'm trying to remember.
We had Karma.
I remember that.
And Liquid.
Liquid SK, I think, is how it went. Yeah.
Yeah, because y'all crushed Liquid on Dust 2 16-3. It was something like that. I mean, it was crazy. So, I mean, going into the event, we really didn't know where y'all stood because y'all hadn't been playing in anything recently besides Aspen because you guys had the automatic invite to Aspen, so you didn't have to play in any of the qualifiers. So we really didn't get to see you play except for at Aspen. You played no NA teams while you were at Aspen. You had only played against, Kabum, Nip, and what is now TSM. So we were trying to get an understanding of where things are at in NA whenever all these ex-iBuy Power guys have been exiled because of, the bans and stuff like that. So we're trying to, who really is the best of NA. So you come into this event, and you beat SKDC pretty handedly on Nuke, which SKDC has never really been ranked very highly on the NA ranking, so there's really no surprise there. But against Liquid, I think I casted this game, and I thought it was going to be close, but it was not at all. Why do you think you guys dominated Liquid so hard on D2 in this group play game?
I mean, that had a lot to do with Shazam. If anyone was watching that game, Shazam, I literally think he got a pick every single round. He had an op through that door, and that is so important, T-side. And we started at T-side, right, and it ended like 12 or 13-2. I don't remember the half, but those picks through the door are insane. So that offer can mean a lot. And he was just picking people left and right. He would run up cat, pick somebody. He'd look, after that mid pick, you'd go up mid, pick somebody. And it's just crazy how much that can do for you. And on top of that, the rest of us, we were all hitting our shots. We were just flying out, full confidence, dominating people. So
did this make you think any lesser of the Liquid team being able to beat them that badly, or what are your thoughts there?
I mean, no, not really. It's like as we were playing, like we all felt like we were just on fire. It's really hard to stop a team like that. So we don't think any less of them. No, it's just dust two whoppers.
That's one thing I try to preach. Is you can't really sleep on any team on LAN, like, or on LAN. It's sometimes even online. Like you really can't sleep on any opponent, because the way this game is, the nature of the game, somebody could come out just shooting hot one day and catch you off guard.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just leave group play then, because there really wasn't much to say there. Like I said, you pretty much coasted through it. But the first bracket play game you had to play against was Mythic. So this is like the team with Hades, Anger, and Flom and all those guys. And they had a pretty easy group themselves as far as being able to advance. I mean, how did you feel? I mean, you guys 2-0'd them, but I know Cash was like really close. Wasn't it a 16-14 win?
Yeah.
So
with a 2v5 at the end.
Right. So why do you think you? I wouldn't say you struggled because you won, but I think most people thought you would be able to kind of, have an easier time maybe against Mythic on a map like Cash, which you folks are usually pretty good at. What do you think was kind of the issue there?
We made a lot of mistakes. Like a lot of our mistakes, our rotations were all over the place. Our comms were all over the place. I believe that was our first match of the day when everyone was.
Oh yeah, that was a nightmare going into, to be honest. And it wasn't just because, I mean, things happen in events where like, okay, computer problems, networking, this and that. But when you throw on top there that Shroud actually could have died in his room the night before, that really doesn't help at all.
Do you wanna explain this a bit more? Make this a bit clearer?
At the very event, sorry, start lagging. The very last match. So let's just go back to groups. Those first two matches we played, fine. Everybody was fine and dandy. And then, as it was coming up to that third one, because of how many delays there were, we got up to the third one. I started feeling a little sick. I think Shazam started feeling a little sick. Jordan started to feel a little sick. Everybody started feeling a little sick. We pulled through. We played that one. We went to bed, woke up, and we felt 8 million times worse. So we got to the event. We just looked like zombies. Like we were all like, I mean, I look like a zombie right now, just naturally. But like, just imagine more of a zombie Shroud. Like, come on. It's bad. It was bad.
It was.
Anyway.
It was definitely GermCon 2015. I think everyone walked away from that event sick. Those boosts were like cesspools of all kinds of stuff.
Well, just think about it this way, and I told him, I was like, what if we had been in the booth the entire time and they just pretty much quarantined us in there, not to sleep, but just to play, and then that way we would never have computer problems, and we would have never spread the sickness. But hey,
yeah, it was bad. So I mean, that the Cash match definitely woke us up a little bit. We kind of got in there and we weren't really ready yet. If that makes sense. So just a lot of really stupid mistakes. If you notice watching us, our first match of the day is always the worst. We always have a hard time getting the groove. So that first match of the day is always the worst. And that's kind of what happened on Cash.
Right. Also, I know there's just people out there that are going to wonder about ClutchCon and all the delays and all the different things like that. I don't want to talk about it in this episode of The Hype, not because I want to hide from it or avoid it. I'll definitely do like an AMA live after this is over if you guys want to talk about that. But I did do a vlog about it that's on my YouTube if you want to hear about the actual issues and problems. But I just wanted to avoid that for episode, so just give you that disclaimer. So the next game you guys play is against Elevate. Now, let's talk about Elevate a little bit, okay? Because I want to kind of get some context for them as they came into the game against you. So they made it out of groups. It was kind of crazy because there was some type of tiebreaker ruling that happened that was like really controversial with like Kabum denial and Elevate.
That was dumb.
Yeah, I don't know I don't even know what happened there.
So, okay, here's what happened.
Okay.
There was an overtime match in group play. And you simply don't do that. So right there was sort of like a rounds thing it was given. They were just like, okay, we'll have to replay. We'll do like a tiebreaker match or something, and then there you go.
That's just why you do GSL style groups, and you don't mess with any type of tiebreaker system. That's my personal opinion. But regardless, Elevate is the team who advances out of that group. They go up and they play against CLG first. Now we're going to have a discussion about both these teams now, because I feel like this is a good time to talk about both these teams, okay? So, coming into the event, what were y'all's expectations of Elevate? Let's just throw that out there.
I mean, of Elevate,
I mean, you scrim them, you play against them online. I mean, what did you think about this team coming into this event?
we honestly, like, if to be brutally honest, I think we thought we were just gonna, trample over them. We're like, oh, these guys, they're not good. Like, I think that's what we thought after playing them online. But I honestly think they did way better on LAN than they do online. I don't know how it's possible, but like you know how people always call onliners and this and that. I think that's what our team had of them. Maybe, I'm not really sure. I'm not speaking for everybody, but I think. And then we played them and we're like, holy crap, these guys can hit their shots. Like they're really good. So it was definitely unexpected.
Right, so head-to-head, you thought they were good, but, I mean, how did you think they were going to place? Like, forget your head-to-head result against them. How well did you think they'd be? Like, say you thought you were going to be the best NA team at the event. How good do you think Elevate was? How good did you think they were going to be at this event as far as, like, where you thought they'd place?
Before even
stepping into the event.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what group they were in. I don't really remember.
They were in the group with Kabum and Denial.
I didn't think they were going to make it out. Yeah, that group, yeah. I didn't think they were going to make it out,
so
actually.
Who do you think was going to make it out, that group, Kabum and Denial?
Yeah, I thought Denial. I actually was pretty sure Denial was going to make it. So it surprised me. It did.
Okay. Trace, what did you think about Elevate coming into this event?
I mean, they came in strong. But, I mean, when like XP3, he's a strong teammate to have. So, yeah. I mean, that's one of those you don't sleep on. Like, you kind of have to stay on your toes. And they came out hot. So, yeah. I thought they'd make it out of group play. I didn't know how much further after that.
I mean, I thought Denial was pretty good. I don't know. I guess I just respected Denial.
Well, it's not like Denial did bad. They kind of got screwed, to be honest, on this stupid tiebreaker situation in groups, because they actually beat Kabum on Inferno the first time, and then they had to play the tiebreaker match on Inferno again, and then I think they lost the second time 16-12 or something like that. So they technically won the first time they played Kabum, but then they lost to Elevate, and then they had to replay Kabum and lost the replay. So it's not as if, like, people are going to come out of this event hopefully not thinking that the Nile's like an online team or bad on LAN. Like, they actually played pretty good. It's just they kind of got screwed up on a tiebreaker situation. So don't think any lesser of Denial when you look at this event, is my point. This event almost did nothing for them. It was like neutral. So it's really hard to kind of tell. I think there's still kind of a question mark over them, but I think they did well enough to not be called onliners or something like that. But yeah. So we'll step away from Elevate for just a second. We'll talk about CLG, right? So they came into this event. They did fine in group play. They pretty much just swept through the groups. There was really no big surprises out of CLG on group, in my opinion. It pretty much went exactly how I thought it would. They lost to Fnatic in groups, but, I mean, that was kind of expected, especially after watching them play head-to-head at Aspen and losing on Mirage there, too. They lost on Mirage again at ClutchCon. But they did a bit better, actually, this time. I think they got maybe 10 or 11 rounds instead of just 7, like they did at Aspen. So it was like an improvement against Fnatic. And then the other two teams in their group, they were able to beat pretty easily. There wasn't really any other amazing teams in their group, so it was always expected that CLG and Fnatic would advance, is my point. But they played Elevate in the quarterfinals, right? So this is the big match I want to talk about. I don't know if you got to see this. Did you get to see this,
I didn't get
Shroud?
to see it. I did hear about it. And
Trace, what about you? Did you get to see this or hear about it?
See, sorry, I misheard.
The Elevate versus CLG game in the quarterfinals. Did you get to see it?
No, we didn't. I don't think we were there for that, were we? I think we were at.
I'm not sure.
Sorry. No. Yeah, I don't think we were down for that.
That's fine. I didn't even get to see the whole game either. I'm pretty sure.
To be fair, like, my whole team's dying, and I kind of gotta take care of that.
I hear you. So let's put it this way. So going into the quarterfinals, you knew these two teams were playing against each other at the very least, right? Like, you knew CLG was going to be playing Elevate. I mean, for you, this is a clear-cut CLG advancement, right? I mean, what do you think here?
Yeah, I mean I think that's what everyone thought. It was really surprising. If I remember correctly, CLG actually the night before were like they were like at the bar drinking and having a good time till like 5 a.m. and they're like, oh yeah, they're it's gonna be fine in the tomorrow morning for this match. I don't know if that had any. They said that it had zero effect. I feel like it did. I feel like that might have caused them to lose, but that's just me.
Bus chucker Shroud here.
Shroud, good job, dude.
Throwing the bus.
We'll be talking about.
I wasn't gonna say a word about that, but now that you brought it up, don't everyone get mad at Shroud because he said that, because he actually brought up a very, very fair point. I wasn't gonna bring it up, but now that he did, I'm gonna tell it like it is. For one, they should have had a manager there. They should have had a stunna there saying, "Hey boys, let's get to bed. We got games tomorrow."
I don't. I just.
No, you're right.
I'm just trying to teach him something. You
Shroud, you're
that,
right.
Man.
Like, no, this is the best thing you said all interview for sure. Is like laying down this lesson. No, this is not to say anything he said before this was bad.
Yeah, I guess you just don't like what we have to say. Like,
no, but this is a really good
never
point.
wants to see Cloud9 again. No, that's not a problem.
God.
Let's go ahead and get out of here.
Oh my God. No, seriously, like Shroud brings up one of the best points you could bring up about this team was just kind of a lack of discipline. In the sense that, and I'm not going to sit here and throw single players under the bus.
Hold on. It's not even like, let's not just say this team. Let's talk about, like, this happens to a lot of teams. That's why, let's say a manager is a worthwhile investment. Like, even a coach can come into play and say, hey, that's not a good idea, guys. It's not what we're going to do tonight. I mean, it's one of those things that it's not a CLG problem. It's
oh yeah, I know it happens.
It's an esports wide thing.
Right. I think
I didn't want to be that guy.
I think it's a combination of a few things. No, you're right, though. This is a really good point, and I think it did contribute. I think you're absolutely right. They, especially coming into the first game, where they lost Dust 2 really bad, 16-9, and this is CLG's best map. Like, they've beaten some of the best teams in NA on it, at least online, like, the former Ally Power, Tort to qualify for Aspen. They look so good on D2. They beat Envious on it at Aspen, so they did it on land too. So I mean, this is a really good map for them, and then they just got blown out 16-9. Now I'm not trying to take away from Elevate. We're going to get to Elevate in a second, how well they played, but CLG, you're right. I'm not going to name names of players, but there was definitely at least 2 or 3 CLG guys that were at the land, like you said, until 5 or so in the morning, which I think part of that is underestimating Elevate, probably. I think the other part, they thought they should just waltz through the quarterfinal just fine, no big deal. Secondly, I think it was almost, I mean, you want to have fun at LAN too, right? Like, don't get me wrong. This is one of the few times you get to see a lot of the people
you don't want to have fun.
You talk to.
You want to be miserable, and you want to focus on your game, and that's it. We're not here to smile. We're here to win. Right, Shroud?
Yeah.
Right, Shroud?
So, I mean, Shroud, do you think, like, when you go to a LANs, do you ever feel as if you're missing out on an experience because you're so focused on your games? Like, do you kind of understand why CLG would want to be more sociable, or is this just ridiculous? They should be focusing on their game.
When it's game time, right? You always have that last day where the event's over, and you always have that time to have a good time at the very, very end of the event. That's always there. It's always there at every single event. So I don't know if they didn't know about it or something, but that's what they should have done. They should have just saved it for later.
And I'm not saying that these guys were like drinking or doing other things. That's not what I'm saying. I have no idea. All I know is that I remember they were playing CS until like 5 in the morning. Like they were playing video games in the LAN center, like 10 manning and stuff like that at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, they're 10 manning. I remember.
So yeah, it just seemed like there was a little bit of lack of discipline there, and I think it did bite them a little bit. And I think that's something that they need to look at in the future. Not only work on their game, but also just work on their discipline and how they proceed to take things at LAN. Because LAN's more than just playing your games. It's also about dealing with the environment and being disciplined about it. And so that's a lesson that hopefully CLG learned from this. But we're going to get away from that aspect and just focus on the actual games at hand as if that wasn't an issue. Okay? So we already talked about Dust 2 and how that went. It was a really, really good game for Elevate. They started out on T side on D2. They crushed it. I mean, they got, 8. They were winning 8-7 after the first half from T side. So they got the rounds they needed on T side, and then they allowed a pistol from CLG on D2 to make it 8-8, but then they ecoed them and then won 4 in a row, and then only allowed one more round the entire half. So I mean, they played really dominant. Elevate did. And I want to bring up some players' names here because we're talking about upcoming talent in A. There's a vacuum, there's a void, right? There's some veterans that are gone. We're trying to find new players that are good. Let's name some names here from this team because there's a lot of young people on this team. We know XP3 and Storm are the veterans, right? But let's look at some of these other guys. So, what do you think about Elige? I mean, this kid's 17 years old. He hasn't. This is his first really big land. I think he did some local stuff before this, but this is like a pretty big event for him as far as the level of domestic competition, at least. I mean, what do you think about this guy, this Elige guy? He played really well this event. What do you think?
I mean,
Pretty good for 10 cents.
Yeah, if people don't know this, he plays at 1800 DPI at 2 cents, which is basically 400 DPI at 10 in-game cents. So he plays at a really high cents. He's really young, and he controls his high cents really well. Like, you would think people get like land jitters and kind of like be just if you're just a bit off, you're way off because your cents is so high. But I mean, he showed no signs of pressure or nerves. Like, he just. Played solid.
yeah, that's good.
So what do you think? What do you think about Elige as a player then, Shroud? Like, you played against him online and here, so what's up?
He definitely has some potential, honestly. I don't really I've never really talked to him, so I don't know how he is as as a teammate, because you can learn a lot about somebody just by talking to them, having a conversation to them. So I haven't really talked to him, so I don't know that much about him, but as just a player playing against him, he's definitely got good aim, and he's definitely a good player, and I could see him rising up in a few years here.
Okay. What about you, Trace? What do you think about Elige?
Well, I mean, we've seen younger players like Brax come in here and just decimate, So it's not unheard of. This just wouldn't be the first time. So we'll see where it takes him over the next X amount of time for him to.
But were you
really
overall
blossom.
Impressed with this first event, at least?
Yeah, I was, and I think that'd be the same to go with all of Elevate. They did pretty good.
Yeah, so let's talk about Roka then. So this is a guy that was big at Source at the very end of Source. Like the last season of Source was season 12 of ESEA, where he took second place at that event and looked really good. In Go, he never really got on a pro team for like a stable amount of time. He kind of bounced around teams. So this is like the first time I've really seen him like on a stable professional team. He also looked very good this event. What do you know about Roka? What do you think about him, Shroud?
I mean, I didn't know anything about him in Source because I didn't play
I understand
Source.
But just in Go, when you've played with him or against him, what do you think?
Oh, but in Go, he's a monster. Like, he has crazy aim. Like, his deagle is something to be feared. Once again, I've never played with him. I've talked to him a little bit. He seems like a good guy, so that's good. That's a plus. He's probably a good teammate after talking with him for a little bit. So he's definitely really, really good. He just needs, I think, more time, personally.
Okay.
And maybe a new spot to play on Cash, but I don't could be wrong there.
Okay. Is there what's the story there?
He likes to play the same spots over and over. I don't recommend that. He in Cash B side, he's always going to play headshot spot. Always. He's always going to be there. CT side.
Yeah, he's always there early round.
That's the Roka spot. After watching him play a little bit, he likes to go to the same spot every single time, no matter what. I don't think that's a good idea, but I mean, it works, right?
So just a lack of experience maybe on understanding positioning.
Yeah.
Okay. But potential, though, you think, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So the last guy I would talk about is Rush. Now, this is a guy that has been to a couple of bigger ESCA events. He was at last ESCA LAN for Elevate, where they kind of got bombed out because they had to play Fnatic first, if I'm not mistaken, and then they got eliminated by a North American team in the lower bracket. Now, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Denial or XI by Power. I'm not really sure. But he also played with Monomaniacs back in the day with like Juvenile and TM and all those guys. So he's been to a couple of ESCA lands for sure. And I know he plays like in 10-mans a lot with you guys at times as well. What do you think about this Rush guy? Because basically what I'm getting at is Rush, Elige, and Roka all performed pretty well. Like each of them had like a really good map. So against CLG, for example, Roka was like amazing for them on Dust 2. And he was also really, really good on the Inferno game that they lost, as well as but then there was games where Elige was dropping 20s, or games where Rush was dropping. Like, they all had moments where they were top fragging, but in every game they were consistently pretty close frag distribution. What do you think about Rush as a player?
I mean, they all three of them kind of remind me of the same person almost. Like they're all really good, and they all just need more time. I think I feel like that team should stick together and just keep pulling through and see how it goes, because I think XP3 can help those guys out a lot. And
Yeah, that's strong leadership at the core right there.
And then can turn those guys into really good players. So, I mean, I could see a good future for those three.
Do you have any other like specific comments just for Rush though, like based on the play that you've seen from him?
I know the least about Rush.
Okay.
Comparing to the other two, so I had no idea. You know.
Okay, I got what you're saying. That's fine. I think you put the comment out there that these guys. So these are basically guys we can look to maybe be maybe not the next generation. In Alicia's case, probably like the next generation because he's so young. I think Roka's a bit older and Rush is a bit older as far as like being in their 20s or something like that. So is this the people we should be looking at to carry an A in the future? Or?
I mean, I don't know about carry, but definitely be really strong. I'm not sure about carrying though. I don't know. That's hard to say. You know.
I got what you're saying. Okay, so let's talk about CLG then from this event. Is they obviously got upset by Elevate. We already talked about one issue particularly earlier, but getting away from that, let's just talk about like game play. I mean, when I look at these games against Elevate, 'cause that's like the biggest games they played at this event, right? Was the Elevate games that they lost. When I look at it,
I wish I got to see it.
I mean, the thing is Tarek is such a strong player for them in general.
I heard he didn't do that great. Is that true?
No, he didn't. And to his credit, his play style didn't really change. Like, he still has that same kind of aggressive nature. So it's not as if, like, some players, they'll play really aggressive online. They kind of dominate. And then they go to LAN, and they either get timid or whatever, and they change their play style to more passive, and they're not doing as well. They're not as effective.
Well, not the same player at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Mossbeck was a big person that people used to talk about. They used to do this in CSGO in the NA scene. Mossbeck used to be really aggressive online. On LAN, he didn't do well. Yeah, I know. He's not in the community anymore, really. But with Tarek, he does keep his play style pretty consistent between online and on LAN from what I can see when I watch him play. But, yeah, I mean, he just wasn't nearly as effective at this particular event. And even at Aspen, of course, the whole team got crushed outside of their win against Envious. Is there something to say there? Is there an inconsistency there with Tarek, do you think, or what?
I wish I kind of watched them more and watched that match a little bit more, because I haven't really gotten a chance to go over it or anything. From what I'm hearing, he's inconsistent. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about them, to be honest, or about him in general. What about you, Trace? Anything?
Nothing specialized.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no words right now. I don't know why.
It's okay. So Tarek's our other big player that people talk about. He was a big part of why they won on Dust 2 against Envious. He's their opper. They rely on him, on particular maps like Dust 2 to be kind of that guy for them, just like Shazam can be a big guy for you on Dust 2.
Okay, look, I'll stop you right there. One thing that I will add about them that I think would be a worthwhile investment for their future is to not stream their matches, to not stream like their inner core teamwork. Maybe that's like the selling point for their team, but I don't think that's good if they want to progress or grow. I mean, at that point, you're playing matches. It isn't about donations, et cetera, et cetera. So
okay, so here's the deal. Here's my thought. I want your opinion on it. So CLG had a lot of hype around them because of how they upset XI by Power and Tort in the original Aspen qualifier online. They also had, I think they 3-0'd Tort in like one of the Face It Cups in a best of 5. I mean, they just had all these really great online results, and then they go to LAN and they open up with another really crazy hyped result against Envious on Dust 2. But my point is like if you were to get their resume together on CLG as a team, on LAN, the only accomplishment they really now have at this point is the fact that they took a map off of Envious, whereas they're getting upset by domestic competition they really shouldn't be getting upset by if they really are this within NA an elite team. So my point is CLG as good as the community thinks they are, or do you think that maybe they're not quite as good as they're hyped up to be?
I think it's the same exact thing that happened with us. Everyone overhyped Cloud9 after Cologne because we took down these teams, and we struggled with them. We barely pulled through, and people were overhyping us so much when, I mean, it was really close. You know, like that could have went either way. Those matches in Cologne. So it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you win some of these crazy matches, and just the hype just keeps coming. And I definitely think it's an overhype.
The hype just keeps coming. It just keeps on coming.
So how good is CLG then, in your opinion? Let's say you're the best team in NA based off your results at ClutchCon and such, right? Let's just say you're the #1 team in NA right now, based on LAN results. Okay, so where is CLG then? Where is Liquid? Where is Elevate? I mean, where do we put these teams?
It's so hard. It's so hard to say because I feel like there's a lot of inconsistency with some of these teams when they play against each other. But I would put Liquid as second, and then CLG, and then so forth after that, Elevate, and blah 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 blah. Mythic is definitely up there too. It's really hard to say. I haven't really thought about it too much, so I can't give you a 100% answer on it. But it would go something probably like that. I think Liquid is still the strong second.
What do you think, Trace?
I mean, I have to agree with Mike here. He's pretty much got it on point.
Right, because we know they just played against each other last night, so this is February 4th for the last slot for the offline qualifier in Katowice. It was Elevate and CLG in the final, and it was actually a 2-1 series. So Elevate won the first map in overtime on Nuke, and so that's how things started. And then after that, we saw, I guess you could say, CLG get revenge on Dust 2. They beat him pretty badly on Dust 2, and then they beat him on Cash as well, pretty one-sided. So we saw that 2-1 series so now it will be, yourself, Liquid, and CLG all at the offline qualifier for Katowice. So I guess they kind of got their revenge there. But I think this Katowice qualifier will tell us a lot about them too whenever they get to play against some other European teams outside of like the elites like Fnatic, to see if they can actually stack up. So my question is this: going into Katowice, then we're going to talk about this now. What NA teams do you think can actually compete and make it to the actual event from the offline qualifier? I mean, do you think you all three have a shot at it, or what?
I don't know if there's a full list of who's actually going there, but I can guarantee you we're going to make it out 100%. It's kind of hard for me to say though, because I don't know who else is in there for the rest of the guys. Like
I know Titan is in there. Epsilon Spot.
Is Dig in there?
Dignitas, the other team, from that area is going to be there. Copenhagen Wolves will be there.
So
Vox.
We might see another North American team out, and make it through. It's going to be close though. I think
8 teams come out of this 8. Offline.
Yeah, I know.
It will advance.
Mm-hmm. It's important to realize things like this when you have a North American team or a team that's never been exposed to that sort of gameplay, and they can have the good aim, but they can also do things that are unorthodox and catch other teams off guard, and really come through and do things like that. For example, we had Corey Calling, and he was really doing some things that were not normal, so to say, and it was really paying off until teams started to catch on to it.
Right. I mean, I think the big teams that people expect to come out of this are Titan is by far probably the favorite to come out of this, of one of the 8 teams that are going to come out. Dignitas, they still have a really good team. They're the second best team from their country, behind TSM, so that's probably a team to look at. No one really knows who's going to take Epsilon's spot, so we're kind of waiting for that. Also, people are still up in the air about Kabum. I know that they're trying to go to this offline qualifier. They haven't officially been invited yet, but I think if they did go, Kabum could definitely be a team, depending on the maps, that could advance out of this offline qualifier. Miles Sports is maybe a team that you can still look at. I know they've taken a hit, losing Alu and stuff, but they're still, decent enough to where I think they could make it top 8 out of this group of 16 in the offline qualifier. And then there's Liquid, CLG, and then the flip side team with like Schneider and Twist and all those guys. So 3D Max is there as well. If you had, so for sure you're going to make it. Let's just say only one more NA team makes it out. Who do you think it would be?
Out of those
Liquid
two?
and CLG?
I think CLG. I feel like, I don't know, Liquid hasn't gotten enough time to play against these European teams, and I just don't think they're that good enough individually against the Europeans. I think CLG is a lot better individually, but when it comes to like a NA versus NA, I still think Liquid would beat CLG for now. So I think CLG would be able to pull through because they're kind of we're going into this offline qualifier without really having any idea about who's there yet and this and that. So you don't really know who you're playing. And I think CLG goes in way stronger without knowing what's going on than Team Liquid. I think Team Liquid has to be a little more prepared. And it's harder when you don't know who you're up against or who's even there yet, you know?
I got what you're saying. So let's go back to you, though, because, I mean, we're interviewing Cloud9, so shit to focus back over there. You're going to this offline qualifier with second place from ClutchCon. You did good against your domestic competition, but you did get beat by fnatic pretty badly.
Pretty bad.
We'll be honest. I mean,
was that a beat, or was that some sort of you get my thesaurus out of acceptable words for what happened to us there?
It was tough. You know, you lost 16-7 on Mirage, a map that you've already said that you weren't very comfortable on. I mean, how did this VTOG actually go? I'm curious, you know, how it got to be these maps. Because did y'all pick Nuke, I'm assuming?
Yeah, we did.
So
we felt pretty confident.
So what did y'all ban against them? Inferno or Overpass?
Inferno. Yeah,
Inferno.
It was Inferno.
So they picked Mirage after you banned Inferno.
Yeah, because the third map was Overpass.
Okay.
Yeah,
and what did they ban? Dust 2 or something like that?
That sounds right.
Okay.
Huh.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's what's right. So you go into this game against Mirage, against Fnatic. What happens here? What do you think? Like, why did it go the way it did?
Well, God. Nuke is, I mean, Nuke. We got throttled. If we just had a little more practice and we had more time on our Mirage, because our Mirage still isn't. Clearly, our Mirage isn't that great. We still need to work on our Mirage. Like that, we need to work on that really badly.
Okay.
Our Nuke. So like, I think that's we just don't have enough practice on Mirage, and we need to work on that. So that's what I think happened there. I think we could have pulled through if we
had some prep on Mirage. Okay.
If we had way more.
So Nuke,
prep
the map you must have been confident on because you picked it. How does this go so poorly?
Obviously, starting T side is rough. We were still confident, though. Losing that pistol is close. If I remember correctly, it was a close pistol that could have went our way. That pistol could have changed a lot. We're a team that really runs off momentum. And when we win that pistol and we pull through and we win that eco, and then if we win that first gun round, like that's a guaranteed win, honestly. We're still kind of having troubles breaking through when we're in like a serious like 6-0 and we're down. We have like a really hard time breaking out of that. So that kind of just added on to how we lost. And on top of that, they were just outskilling us. They would just double push ramp, push hut, push squeaky. They would just push everything so hard. They would hit all their shots. They were literally just outskilling us. It was crazy. They didn't miss like at all. I don't think they missed at all. We weren't ready for that at all. All those pushes and this, we weren't.
So I think this is a good time to transition maybe to a topic of what do you think that your team needs to fix? What do you think's kind of holding you guys back from performing against some of these elite teams?
Well, jeez, I mean that's hard to say. I think all of us need to start looking more into these teams, into like watching demos, figuring out what they do. We all need to be on our game. We all need to be studying them and figuring out and practicing, which that's the main thing that we need to be doing. I don't think like right now I feel like Sean's the kind of guy he's calling, he's watching he's watching all these demos and this and that, and he's trying to guide us in the right direction. But we also have to watch our own demos, and we also have to figure out how to play against these guys without Sean's guidance. Like we gotta just do it on our own. So that I think is our fault right now, and we need to start working on that.
Okay, so I'm going to bring up 2 more questions about this, and then we'll kind of close off with just, your expectations for Katowice, and then we'll be done, because I don't want to keep you for too long. I know you got practice coming up. There was 2 things I wanted to ask you about things that you need to fix, and 2 of these things come from your former teammate Hiko, so please don't take this the wrong way on what I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah, I know.
No.
I know.
So,
I've heard it.
So, is there any... Okay, so I'll take it one by one then. So, Hiko's first thing that he said about you was that he felt as if when you joined the team, you're very good, but it's almost as if you didn't get any better. Like, you just kind of plateaued and stayed the same the whole time you've been on Cloud9. You haven't really gotten any better. And he points to part of this may be being because of the streaming or not putting enough emphasis or playing the game correctly or prepping correctly. Is there any merit to this, in your opinion?
I mean, it does. I guess it does have some effect on it because I'm not putting as much time as I should in reviewing demos and watching demos and figuring out different stuff and figuring out different teams, studying. So it does put a lot of, it does take a lot of time out of that streaming so much. So I mean, I do agree, but I don't think that's like. It's not really that bad. I don't think it's hurting me as much as he's suggesting,
Do you have a comment here, Trace, or do you want to leave this one alone?
No, I'm going to leave this one alone. I think Mike knows what he needs to do to propel himself forward as a player. He obviously contributes.
Because I feel like one of the comments made is that Shroud really probably can be a way better player than he is. Like, there's a good ceiling there for you, and you could be the guy. Like, you could be the guy that Cloud9 relies on. You could be like the star player for the team. I feel like. So, I mean, you say you think Mike knows what he needs to do to excel at the game.
Well, he knows what he needs to do to fix where he's lacking, and I mean, if he doesn't subconsciously realize like what he has to do, or what other times, like when every player knows what they have to do to be better, and if you're not trying to better yourself in the game, or I mean even in real life, like what are you doing?
Okay. So the other question, the last point about this, about needing to fix things, one of the other things that Hiko brought up and that I've even kind of wondered about talking to nothing about it, was about not necessarily having clearly defined roles or not having roles maybe to the right player. I know even Moses brought this up, like Nothing is kind of like the entry aggro fragger, but how would Nothing maybe perform as a lurker role guy? That's what do you think about the roles on the team, Mike, and maybe what adjustments might need to be made there?
I mean, that's one thing we haven't really tried out trying different roles. We haven't put everybody in every situation to try to figure out maybe he's a better lurker or this and that. We kind of just like ask each other and talk about it. It's like, are you comfortable doing this? Are you comfortable doing this? Okay, that's cool. Like we haven't gone around and actually tried everyone to be like, all right, you're lurking this time, you're lurking this. Like we just kind of ask, and then whoever's up to it will do it. I don't know if that's what we need to do. If we need to test every single role, maybe I need to start entry fragging. Maybe we need to see if that works. I don't know if that's something we need to try, or if we should just keep talking about it. It's hard to say right now.
I think like you and Nothing are so similar in your aiming style. Like you guys are so rapid and like able to kind of quickly flick back and forth and check things. And so I think you really could be a good entry fragger. And I think Nothing's just so crazy with this movement, and he seems he's really smart. Like mid round, I think he would be a good lurker. So maybe that is something there. I mean, what do you think about that? Like, how confident would you feel being an entry fragger instead of like more of a lurker passive role?
It'd be a weird change considering I don't think I've ever really done it. I have every now and then. Sometimes you just have to. You're first in line. It would be weird, but I definitely could see myself doing it too, for sure. We just haven't really tried it, like I said.
Okay.
Not yet, at least.
So how are you guys going to prepare for this offline qualifier? I mean, I guess it's going to be tough, but I mean, what are you looking at trying to do to get prepared for this offline qualifier you're headed to?
Well, I mean, let's think about this realistically. So today is Thursday. We'll have Friday set, or we'll have tonight. We have 2 matches. We'll probably get a scrim or 2 in after that. Before that. Then we'll go Friday, Saturday. Will be some off time.
Yeah.
But Sunday will be we have at least one match Sunday filled by scrims to complement it, And then Monday, probably the same, probably another match. But then Tuesday and Wednesday is when the traveling starts. So like,
Yeah, so like the problem is like we were gone for so long for MLG and ClutchCon that we come back and now we have to finish all these matches before we go on another trip, right? So our Friday, Saturday is usually off. So we have matches here, we have matches Sunday, Monday, and then we leave like a couple days after. So it's hard to get some practice in, but we'll try to put as much time as we possibly can.
Okay, so
Yeah.
really quick question to that. Do you feel like offline online play has gotten to be too much, like it's not needed as much anymore since you have all these LAN events? Is it becoming more of a burden than helpful? I mean,
well, I think we'll see as 2015 unfolds.
Yeah,
Because
I
it's
think too,
still
yeah.
early in the year, you know?
Mhm.
I got you.
I think we'll definitely see it in 2015. See how much more.
but it's
lands
worth
come
thinking
up.
about. At
Yeah,
least.
it is definitely.
Okay.
At this point, it is. Well, I mean, at this point, it's definitely worth thinking about when you consider 2 matches a week, 3 matches a week, and then when that gets backlogged, you're struggling.
Yeah.
So let's say you qualify, right? You seem pretty confident that you will.
When we will qualify.
Okay, so when
Yeah.
you qualify, what do you plan to do to prep for the actual major itself? Are you guys going to be trying to boot camp again like you did last major? What are your thoughts here on this, on prepping for the actual major?
I mean, that's Stunna. He's the coordinator of that.
Well,
I'm pretty sure we're gonna get a little boot camp going, if I remember.
I mean,
right.
you'd have to be crazy to not get some serious prep time in for a major. I mean,
Yeah.
there's that. But then you also look at the heels of the major. So when you take Katowice, there's obviously some other events that I don't even think have been announced yet, but that will be coming right behind it. So, I mean,
Yeah.
they would definitely be worthwhile for us to boot camp and going into that series of events.
So it's something you're definitely considering doing or trying to do is the point.
Yep.
Oh, they ain't trying to do. That's the way it's going to be.
All right, well, there you go. Does NA have any hope at this major? We talked about how it's going to take time for some of these guys to catch up and fill that vacuum left behind after some of these top talents have been banned.
But I
You're
don't
still
understand.
I mean, do you think that based on your recent play, your recent play at the last major, recent play overseas, how confident do you feel that this could be a big event for you? Either you're competing for the podium or at least making it top 8 or in the semifinals. I mean, what do you feel confident that you can do that?
I mean, definitely. We this past 2 weeks with Shazam was kind of like it was kind of new to him. If I remember correctly, I think that was his first time playing against some top European teams at MLG. So I think that boot camp that we will get in before the event in Poland, I think it's gonna help a lot because Shazam is clearly one of our key players. Our operators is a really important role. So I think the more he gets used to all these teams, the better we'll do.
Any other NA
So
teams have a chance to advance out of groups if they make it? Do you think, or they're not ready yet?
I don't know if they're ready yet. Unless they get like some weird easy group or something, but I don't think so.
All right.
That's just me.
Well, that is basically all the questions I had. If there was any shout outs or any final comments you'd like to make before I let y'all both go.
I mean, Trace.
Final thoughts, shout outs, closing
Final thoughts. I actually want to give one big shout out to all my thoughts out there. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, this is a big year. This is a big year for us. It's a big year for Counter-Strike. And like I kind of wanted to elaborate on earlier was it is really what we make of it. So if we want to go out there and we want to ruin it for all of us, then we'll continue doing stupid stuff like match fixing and cheating and things that really bring negative attention to all of us. All of you in chat, etc. So, Shroud, do you have any shout outs that you want to give besides my Twitter? Because I know you want to shout that out, right, bud?
They're at the bottom for you folks if you don't see them already, but you can definitely just post your links in my chat as well. I think y'all are both modded in there.
Yeah, it's your shout outs are right there, man. It's there. It's been there.
Thanks, man.
I ain't giving you anything.
Are we gonna get boot camp cam again?
Oh, the spider
see.
cam.
Spider
We'll see.
cam.
It was pretty. It's pretty weird.
People were so into that. It was kind of cool. So maybe
Yeah.
a
maybe.
marketing
We'll see.
genius play there from Stunna.
What can I say?
All right, well, if that's all you have, I appreciate you coming on and talking to these folks and answering some questions. And I'm sure we'll be hearing from you soon. But I know Katowice is next up for you guys. I think y'all are leaving what, like you said, next week. So it's like very near.
We're literally leaving Wednesday, and I think 4 of us are flying over the big pond together. So
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else you're looking forward to, or is just Katowice the main goal right now? Obviously, the land event itself's in March, so that's still kind of a decent ways away. But
well, we'll take it one step at a time. We're going to qualify, then we're going to place at the event. Place 1. We're going to place up there. Let's put it that way.
all right. Well, once again, thanks a lot for coming on, and we'll see you soon.
I think. Hold on. Shroud has a quick set
Okay.
of shout outs he's going to do before we close out here. Shroud, take it away.
Okay, go ahead, bud. Shroud.
I'm taking it away. All right, apparently I'm taking it away. So the shout-outs are going to be Cloud9, of course, and all of our sponsors. G2A, Logitech, ZAM. I think, am I allowed to say this? Hold on. Because this is new. I'm just making sure.
No,
HyperX
not yet.
Okay, Okay. See, I'm glad I asked. I would have just spit it out.
There's a new sponsor
HyperX,
coming. Okay.
HyperX, Alienor, HTC, Need for Seat, and NVIDIA. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
That is all.
And big shout out to you, Dusty Moretti. I do appreciate you having us.
Oh yeah, no problem. But y'all make the show. So thanks for coming on. So have a good one, and catch you later.
Adios.